Good morning, everybody. This morning I want to talk about something that I see in a lot of us. This is something that I'm speaking about even with myself. It's something about humans that we don't want to take accountability for our actions. Most humans, I would say 90% of humans, people, they don't want to take accountability for their actions. And what they tend to do is blame others, blame the dog, the cat, the car, blame everything but taking accountability for their own actions. So when we get to one thing I want to just, stress, depression, some of these symptoms, not symptoms, some of these things that tend to cause man so many problems. A lot of the time, it's what man have made, and the Bible speaks about this. Now, in the context here in Galatians chapter 6, I'm going to read chapter 6. Not the whole chapter, but a little bit of chapter 6. And then I'm reading it in context, and then I'm gonna talk about what this message is about. It says, "Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such an one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted." Now, here he's speaking to the Galatians, and he's speaking to Christians here. How do I know that? Because it says, "Ye which are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou be tempted." Then it says, "Be ye one, bear ye one another's burden." So now he's talking about, he said, "Ye which are spiritual." So he's speaking to people who are spiritual, who are Christians here. So then he's going to say, "If a man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceives himself. But let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone, and not in another. For every man shall bear his own burden. Let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teacheth in all good things. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to the flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. The verse that I want to really, really hone in on and focus in on is that this verse right here. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reapeth. For he that soweth to the flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap everlasting life. So this basically it's one of those verses in the Bible that it's not really hard to understand what Paul is saying here in this verse 7 and 8 in Galatians 6, 7 and 8. He says, if you sow to the flesh, shall of the flesh reap corruption. So it's a lot of people out here today. They find themselves in a lot of issues, a lot of things that they're dealing with, but it's things that they have made, that they have created. And so the crutch that they tend to use a lot of time is depression, stress, anxieties. I mean, some of these things could be chemically brought on chemically, yes, but a lot of times it's things that people have brought on themselves. And they're in a season of reaping and sowing. And most of the time, the season of reaping and sowing, they can't deal with it. They want to find a crutch. They want to find something to blame for what they have sowed in their life. But these are the same people who refuse to take accountability for their actions. They refuse to stand up and stand in it. Stand in it. Stand in it. Admit. Stand in that you made a mess. Stand in that you've been a bad father. Stand in that you sold to the flesh. I'm preaching to myself also. I'm preaching to myself also. But then Paul goes on a little further here. He say, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap everlasting life.